Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Understanding against the sky. Being invited to the moon at the beginning and picking back to the Flower Palace Ji Chang'an travels through the world of comprehensive martial arts, awakens her supernatural intelligence, but finds herself an abandoned baby on the roadside. Fortunately, she was adopted by the passing Inviting Moon Lianxing. From then on, there was an additional young palace master in the flower-moving palace, and even more so in the martial arts world, there was an additional demon genius with the ability to defy the heavens. You can comprehend the Mingyu skill, appreciate the roundness and deficiency of yin and yang in the moon, absorb the beauty of the moon in the Tai Yin, create the Tai Yin Mingyu Skill, and gather the illusion of the rising moon in the sea. You look up at the thunder in the sky, have some insights in your heart, combine what you have learned, create your own divine-level body method, 3,000 thunderbolts. You delve deeply into the study of transferring flowers and jade, combined with the insights gained from the 3,000 Taoist Tripitages, and create your own heavenly-level martial arts. Collect, transform, and use your energy to transform 900. From then on, Ji Chang'an relied on her extraordinary insight, created immortal methods, embraced beauties, sought immortality, and enjoyed the world of pleasure, wandering for thousands of years. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Heavenly Way Blessing, Gaining the Understanding of Against Heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Night. The stars and moon are gentle, and the sky and earth are bright and pure. In a lush mountain forest, a baby who looked about a few months old slowly opened his eyes, with a hint of confusion emanating from his large black gemstone-like eyes. Where is this? Ji Chang'an tried to reach out her hand, wanting to stand up. However, at the moment he reached out, he froze. Two small, short, and tender-looking hands appeared before his eyes. This is baby's hands. Ji Chang'an was momentarily confused. Something's wrong. How did I become a baby? Can you say, is this a time travel for me? In her surprise, Ji Chang'an instinctively wanted to scream, but what sounded was the vague cry of a baby. Wow, wow. As a former internet writer, after a brief moment of confusion, Ji Chang'an quickly figured out her situation. He did indeed travel through time and even dressed up as a baby. Looking at the lush forests around her, Ji couldn't help but feel a wave of fear, and her heart was filled with resentment. Others travel through time, they are all descendants of the holy sons of prestigious sections. Even if they are not successful, they are geniuses from a destitute family. Even ordinary people are not in danger of their lives. But it's my turn, not only to dress up as a baby without any self-protection ability, but also to be abandoned in the deep mountains and forests. If some wild animals such as tigers, leopards, wolves, and so on pass by, won't my white and tender body fall into the animal's mouth and become a small dim sum? Perhaps there is a never-ending path. Just as Ji Chang'an was worried, suddenly a five-colored divine light seemed to fall from the 9 heavens, enveloping his delicate body. At the same time, in his mind, there was also a pleasant sound that sounded like a fairy voice singing in Zen. As you reincarnate, receiving the attention and favor of the heavenly Tao, you will gain the favor of the entire world and gain an understanding at the level of defying heaven reincarnation as a person. The favor of the heavenly way. Ji Chang'an's expression was slightly stunned, followed by a burst of ecstasy. Wisdom goes against the sky. This is really a wild start. Although I don't know what kind of world I am currently traveling to, with my incredible intelligence, I believe I can thrive wherever I go. But after a brief moment of ecstasy, Ji Chang'an still regained her composure. He knew in his heart that the current crisis had not been resolved and was still in danger. Even if one's intellect is against the sky, what can they do? I'm just a baby now. At this moment, suddenly a female voice could be heard whispering not far away. Sister, the colorful radiance just now is reflected here. This voice is sweet and lively, as if carrying a kind of innocence and childishness, but in this deserted wilderness, hearing this kind of voice suddenly is even more surprising. Heavenly vision, isn't it necessary for some heavenly and earthly treasures to be born here? Let's go and take a look. This voice is as cold as frost, with a faint chill that repels people thousands of miles away. Upon hearing the sound, Ji Chang'an became excited. How could someone be here in such a wilderness? This is truly a never-ending journey. Whether the people you meet are good or bad, it's better than staying here to feed the beasts, right? At this moment, Ji Chang'an quickly exerted all her strength to breastfeed and began to cry loudly. Wow! In the forest. Under the moonlight, two delicate and graceful shadows floated down. Their posture is extremely elegant, dressed in embroidered palace clothes like clouds and clouds, with tassel-long skirts fluttering in the wind, truly as graceful as a startled swan and as bright as a wandering dragon. Coupled with their stunning and unparalleled appearance, if any ordinary person sees them, they must think that the heavenly maiden has descended to earth and the fairy has descended to dust. These two people are the invitation moons of the moving flower palace, the two palace masters of Lianxing. At this moment, Lianxing's beautiful eyes were slightly startled, and she listened attentively, seemingly sensing something. She exclaimed in surprise. "Sister, does it seem like there's crying ahead?" Upon hearing the words, Inviting Moon furrowed her embroidered eyebrows slightly. Although she remained silent, her feet were gentle, and her figure seemed to turn into a wisp of smoke, quietly escaping into the night. Almost in an instant, he had already overcome the obstacles of numerous trees. Wow! Wow! Sure enough, as they got closer to the source, the baby's crying became clearer. Inviting the moon, the embroidered eyebrows furrowed slightly, and with a wave of her long sleeves, a burst of true chi transformed into a training horse and roared out, directly shattering a cluster of shrubs, making her eyes suddenly clear. Suddenly, under a verdant Bodhi tree, a huge Bodhi leaf fell, and on top of that leaf lay a lovely baby like a porcelain doll. The baby was already crying, but when she saw the invitation moon appear in front of her, she paused for a moment, stopped crying, and then curiously turned her dripping black gemstone-like eyes to look at the invitation moon. Ji Chang'an has never seen such a beautiful woman before. Noble, elegant, and majestic, all kinds of beautiful words seem to be applicable to this woman. White clothes surpass snow, with long hair like clouds, eyebrows like distant mountains, and eyes like stars. Her appearance is almost perfect, without any flaws, as if the nine heavenly goddess has descended upon the mortal world. It's so beautiful. It's like a fairy. Judging from her recent move, she must be an extraordinary woman. She must be a very powerful expert, and she must hold on to this fragrant and soft thigh. Thinking of this, Ji Chang'an quickly burst into a big smile and chuckled happily, intentionally extending her two small arms like white lotus roots, as if to hug the fairy sister. How could there be children here in such a wilderness? Inviting Moon looked at the incredibly cute little doll in front of her, and a hint of love and pity inexplicably appeared in her heart. Her usually sharp gaze also softened a bit. It has to be said that the doll in front of her is definitely the cutest child she has ever seen in her life. The little one carved with powder and jade is like a porcelain doll. Even with the usually cold nature of Inviting the Moon, after seeing this child, I couldn't resist the pity in my heart and wanted to pinch that fair and beautiful little face. What a lovely doll. Chapter 2. Invited Moon Lianxing returns to the flower moving palace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ji Chang'an extended her little hand to invite the moon, and her pink and jade-carved face bloomed with an innocent smile, making her even more charming and adorable. Inviting Moon looked at the cute doll that stretched out her hands towards her, as if she was about to hug it. She couldn't help but feel a little stunned and her heart trembled, murmuring, "How could there be a baby here in the wilderness? Could it be that you, a little guy, have transformed into some kind of monster?" After gazing for a moment, Inviting Moon lightly pursed her vermilion lips and took a step forward. She reached out a delicate jade hand to the baby, squeezing the white, tender, and chubby face. "Well, the feel is quite good." Ji Chang'an frowned, seeming somewhat dissatisfied. She grabbed a tender jade finger of the Invitation Moon with her two chubby white hands, and then took a bite without hesitation. The strange feeling emanating from her fingertips made Inviting Moon shudder. Then, she lowered her head and looked at the cute doll in front of her, whose teeth were not even fully grown. On top of her stunningly beautiful face, a bright and charming smile quietly appeared, and she let out a soft snort. "Humph, you doll, you have a lot of courage." Although that was the case, Inviting Moon did not get angry. Instead, she smiled brightly and playfully teased the little doll holding her fingertips. "Sister, what did you find?" At this moment, Lianxing, who had slowed down a step, arrived slowly. Looking at the faint smile on her sister's pretty face, she couldn't help feeling a bit surprised, and a hint of disbelief appeared in her eyes. As is well known to the world, the Grand Palace Master of the Ihua Palace invites the moon to be cold as ice and noble as a goddess. On weekdays, even in front of her own sister, she rarely shows a smile. "What's going on today?" Lianxing followed the gaze of Inviting the Moon and also saw Ji Chang'an lying on the Bodhi leaf. Her beautiful eyes widened in an instant and she exclaimed in surprise. "Hey! How could there be a little doll here?" The invitation month did not respond. At this moment, all her attention fell on the little doll in front of her, which was holding her fingers. On weekdays, the Invitation Moon is as cold as ice, proud and indifferent, always carrying a strong aura of rejecting people thousands of miles away. Therefore, apart from Lianxing, no one dares to take a step closer. Unexpectedly, this baby was not affected. For some unknown reason, as she looked at the baby's clear, black gemstone-like eyes, the anger that had been buried in the heart of Inviting Moon gradually calmed down. Even the murderous intent towards the heartless person Jiang Feng dissipated silently. Looking at the cute smile on the baby's face, the lips of Inviting the Moon couldn't help but curl up with a touching curve. With a smile, a rare hint of softness appeared in the phoenix's eyes. Since Jiang Feng defected to the Flower Palace with Flower Moon's slave, Inviting Moon's heart has been filled with jealousy and anger, and she has never laughed like she does now. This child seems to have a connection with this palace. Inviting Moon shook her head, dispelling any distractions in her heart, and then gently bent down to embrace the baby in Lianxing's incredible gaze with a gentle gesture. "Sister, you." Lianxing couldn't believe her eyes. This gentle woman holding a baby and seemingly humming nursery rhymes in her mouth would be the usual cold and majestic lord of the Inviting Moon Palace. Lianxing didn't even know that when Zhaoyue saw this baby, her heart quietly melted like an eternal iceberg, giving birth to some rare tenderness and love. In the dark, Inviting Moon felt destined for this baby, and the more she looked at it, the more she loved it. She couldn't help but murmur to herself. "Are you a gift from heaven to this palace?" Ji Chang'an giggled and danced in the arms of Inviting Moon, making a meaningless babbling sound. Her pink and jade-carved face rubbed against Inviting Moon's body. Seeing this scene, the heart of Inviting the Moon melted, even when a decision was made. No matter what the origin of this child is, from now on, he will be my biological disciple of Inviting the Moon. Upon hearing these words, Ji Chang'an couldn't help but feel both surprised and delighted. Inviting the Moon. This name is not unfamiliar to him. As a web writer and martial arts enthusiast in her past life, Ji Chang'an naturally knew what the name Inviting Moon meant. Looking at the amazing beauty of these two, I already know their identities in my heart. Inviting the Moon, pity the stars. The two palace masters of the Ihua Palace. So, this time, I should have traveled to a martial arts world. Just as Ji Chang'an's thoughts were swirling, Lianxing, who was standing beside her, suddenly approached. She was born with a sweet and delicate smile, even more so than spring flowers. In her glass-like eyes, there was a hint of childlike innocence, and her voice was sweet and lively. She sighed. "What a lovely doll. No wonder even my sister loves me so much." Lianxing gently caressed Ji Chang'an's small face, her eyes full of love. She turned her head, her eyes full of hope, and looked at Lianxing, pleading. "Since you want to take him as your disciple, how about counting him as your sister? You are the master. I will be the second master of this child. We sisters will train this little guy together." Upon hearing the invitation, I intended to refuse. For some unknown reason, after encountering this little doll today, my heart couldn't harden, so I could only nod and agree to Lianxing's request. "Okay, let's work together and raise this child well. From now on, he will be the young master of my flower-moving palace." Lianxing smiled sweetly and her gaze towards Ji Chang'an became softer. She looked at the disciple with a loving expression on her face, and suddenly let out a faint sigh. "What is this?" Lianxing seemed to have discovered something and reached out to take out something from Ji Chang'an's swaddle. A piece of jade. But when I saw this jade, it was as big as a bird's egg, as bright as a bright glow, as clear as a crisp, with 5 colored patterns wrapped around it, and an ancient Chinese character prominently engraved on it. Ji. A hint of surprise flashed in Lianxing's beautiful eyes, and she whispered. Ji. Is this the child's surname? This is not an ordinary surname, its origin is very ancient. Inviting Moon's gaze was cold, her expression calm, and she didn't say a word. She took the jade and gently placed it in Ji Chang'an's hand, saying calmly. So what? Since he appears here, it means he has a connection with me. Anyway, this child is now a disciple of our palace. If anyone dares to argue, then give it a try. Between words, the domineering spirit is fully displayed. Lianxing naturally knew about her sister's temperament and dared not say more. She quickly changed the topic. Sister, why don't you marry a name for this child? Upon hearing the invitation, the moon's beautiful eyes lit up slightly, and her affectionate gaze swept over the baby in her arms, murmuring to herself. Good child, as a teacher, I hope you can live a peaceful and joyful life in the future, with no worries. Why don't we call you Chang'an instead? Chang'an. Ji Chang'an, what a great name. Lianxing praised and then looked at Ji Chang'an with a gentle gaze, saying softly. Chang'an, Xianxia, this will be your name from now on. Ji Chang'an wore a pure and flawless smile, seemingly extremely satisfied with the name. Perhaps destined by fate, he will still leave an unprecedented legend in this world under the name of Chang'an. Chapter 3. Born Demons, Young Master of the Flower Moving Palace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time flies by in a flash. In the blink of an eye, Ji Chang'an was already 6 years old. During his 6 years in the Flower Moving Palace, he displayed a demon-like talent. March is feasible. Half a year old can speak. At the age of 1, one is already able to read and write. At the age of 3, he read extensively and became familiar with the classics of hundreds of schools. At the age of 6, the 10,000-volume collection of books in the Flower Palace had already been read by Ji Chang'an and kept in mind. It is not an exaggeration to say that although Ji Chang'an is only a 6-year-old child now, she is already proficient in astronomy and geography, and can also be considered proficient in the 5 elements and 8 trigrams, Qimenduanjia, Qin, chess, calligraphy and painting. Even miscellaneous subjects such as agricultural water conservancy and economic strategy are well known and precise. Such astonishing talents, even with the hearts of inviting the moon and pitying the stars, cannot help but feel shocked. In private, they are even called little monsters. The entire flower-moving palace knows that this young palace master is an unparalleled genius among all. This day, in the evening. Xiuyu Valley, by a lotus pond. 100 white lotus flowers bloom in the pond, swaying in the gentle breeze. It looks peaceful and tranquil, like a land of immortals. Ji Chang'an sat cross-legged, her black hair dancing lightly in the night breeze, her clear eyes as clear as a spring, her white clothes emerging from the dust, leaving her world and independent. Although he is only 6 years old, he has a calmness that surpasses his age, and his figure is far from comparable to his peers, looking extremely handsome and extraordinary. It's like a young exiled immortal approaching the world, with a fairy-like aura that ordinary people cannot reach. In front of Ji Chang'an, there is a rather luxurious guqin. Ji Chang'an's eyes seemed to be closed but not closed, as she moved her hands and played the strings. The 7 strings of the qin instrument fluctuate like a clear spring flowing, tinkling and ringing, like the moon shining on the earth, tranquil and peaceful, making people's hearts and minds intoxicated. This is a stunning picture. The child in white sat cross-legged, playing the piano, and his snowy clothes fluttered in the wind. Surrounded by colorful fallen petals, the fragrance of flowers permeates. In the crystal-clear rain of flowers, Ji Chang'an's heart was peaceful, and her mind was also ethereal, as if she had forgotten everything about the outside world, immersed in the music of the qin, as if transcending the mortal world. Until the end of a song. 2 white-clad beauties gracefully arrived in the distance. Amazing! Lianxing's eyes were filled with joy, and he generously clapped and praised. Xiao Chang'an's piano skills are now almost Taoist, far surpassing mine. Although Inviting Moon remained silent, her beautiful eyes were filled with pride, and her gaze fixed on Ji Chang'an for an instant, as if gazing at a peerless treasure. Ji Chang'an slowly opened her eyes, a pair of clear eyes as bright as stars. She stood up slowly and calmly addressed the invitation moon. Lianxing and his companions bowed and said, "I have seen the master, the second master." After a slight nod from the invitation moon, her gaze wandered over Ji Chang'an's body before slowly saying, "Chang'an, I did not allow you to practice martial arts earlier because I was worried that your body had not yet grown. Practicing martial arts early is like pulling out seedlings to promote growth, fearing that it will harm your future path of cultivation. Now that you are 6 years old, starting from today, I will officially teach you martial arts." Upon hearing these words, Ji Chang'an couldn't help but feel a sense of joy on her face. After 6 years of exploration, he has figured out what kind of world he is in from various books and the words and phrases of the palace maids. This is a world of martial arts called Kyushu, where characters from many martial arts works blend together, creating a complex and vast world. The world here is extremely vast, and just in a corner of the Central Plains, there are 5 great dynasties standing tall. They are the strongest and most ambitious Great Qin dynasty. The Great Sui dynasty in the western mountains at sunset. The Great Song dynasty, under the threat of barbarians, was plagued by war and chaos. The Great Yuan dynasty was established by the grassland Tianjiao. And the youngest, which was the peak of the Ming dynasty. Under the 5 major imperial dynasties, there is a more chaotic and complex world of martial arts. Just the Taiyinming Jianghu where Ji Chang'an is located. There are 4 eyebrows, Lu Xiaofeng, Chu Liuxiang, and Li Xuanhuan, who are known as the Little Flying Dagger, with no illusory hair. They are heroes and heroes, each leading a period of charm. The leader of the Sun and Moon Divine sect, Dongfang Bubi, used his daughter's body to suppress the powerful figures in the martial arts world, claiming that the sunrise in the east, only I am unbeaten. There are also palace masters who invite the moon to pity the stars, claiming to be the body of immortals and demons, with unparalleled divine skills. Under the name of the bright moon and solitary star, they have been in power in the martial arts world for nearly 10 years, and their reputation remains unshakable. Even the Ming dynasty's martial arts world is so chaotic. Not to mention the entire Kyushu world. It can be imagined that this will be a wonderful and diverse world. Among them, there are even unparalleled powerhouses capable of moving mountains and filling the sea, cutting off the river with just one finger, comparable to gods and demons. As a traveler who has been blessed by the heavenly way and possesses the ability to defy the heavens, it is impossible for Ji Chang'an to spend this life calmly. Born in this life, he is destined to be extraordinary. I am bound to climb to the pinnacle of martial arts, push forward for eternity, and ask for longevity. And today is the beginning of Ji Chang'an's official journey into martial arts. Chapter 4. Absorb the essence of the moon and create the Taiyinming by oneself. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Please pass on my martial arts skills, Master Fu. Ji Chang'an's eyes were bright and he looked at the invitation moon, saying very seriously. Inviting the moon stood with her hands down, nodding slightly. Her beautiful face carried a hint of pride, and she whispered. Chang'an, you are the only disciple of this palace. In the future, you will inherit the entire Ihua palace. You must have a strong body of strength in order to not fall under the reputation of our Ihua palace. Today, I will impart to you the unique skill of Mingyu Gong in the Palace of Moving Flowers. Upon hearing these words, Ji Chang'an's eyes lit up slightly. He is naturally well aware of the reputation of Mingyu Gong. This divine skill is a peerless martial art of the flower-moving palace, which can only be practiced by successive palace masters. It has infinite power and can maintain an aging appearance. It is definitely a top-notch skill in the martial arts world. In this world of comprehensive martial arts can be roughly divided into 4 levels. Heaven and Earth, Xianxia, and each level is further divided into 3 levels. Upper, middle, and lower. Among them, Xianxia martial arts can already be considered a rather rare existence. Earth-level martial arts are generally the secrets of various major sects that are not passed down. And Tianjia martial arts can be considered an invaluable treasure, even if you look at the 5 major dynasties in the Central Plains, and even the martial arts world, it can be considered a rare existence. The 9-yin manual that existed in the Jianghu of the Song dynasty set off a bloodbath, and even the experts such as Wuxia were involved in it, and they fought for their heads. It can be imagined how attractive high-level martial arts are to people in the martial arts world. And the Mingyu skill that Inviting Moon wants to teach Ji Chang'an is precisely a heavenly level skill. Although it is only a lower level skill in the heavenly realm, it can already be considered a top-level skill in the martial arts world. At this moment, Inviting Moon stood with her hands down, her gaze softened as she looked at Ji Chang'an and whispered. Chang'an, as a teacher, I want to pass on your Mingyu skill, which has 9 levels. As long as you can practice it to the 6th level, you can compete with contemporary top-notch experts. If you can practice it to the 8th level, you can be invincible. If you can practice to the 9th level of the extreme peak like a teacher in the future, you can advance to the realm of great success. Not only is your power infinite, but your true qi in your body is also inexhaustible. It is truly an unparalleled skill. Speaking of which, Inviting Moon gave a proud smile and said in a plain tone. Over the years, as a teacher, I have been able to dominate the martial arts world with the help of the 9 layers of Mingyu Gong. I have not suffered a single defeat and have earned a slight reputation. A little bit of a nickname. Ji Chang'an's expression couldn't help but become somewhat strange. Looking at the entire Ming dynasty, who doesn't know the name of the Grand Palace Master of the Moving Flower Palace Inviting the Moon? Is this just a bit of a nickname? Master, are you too humble? Later, Inviting Moon instructed Ji Chang'an to sit cross-legged and personally guide him on the method of using Mingyu Gong, as well as the mental technique and mnemonic. The tone is gentle and patient. Between the eyebrows and eyes, there was an unprecedented warmth. She is both a teacher and a sister, as well as a mother. The Lianxing on the side couldn't help but smile at the sight. Since meeting Xiao Chang'an, my sister's temperament has really changed a lot. My older sister used to have a proud personality, like a goddess from the 9 heavens, and never looked down upon anyone in the world. Even when it comes to treating her younger sister, she has always been as cold as ice. It wasn't until I took in Xiao Chang'an as my disciple and spent time with this child day and night that the immortal millennium iceberg of my sister gradually melted away. Only in front of Xiao Chang'an did my sister show such a gentle side. On the other side, Ji Chang'an listened to the Mingyu Gong mind technique taught by Inviting Moon, and her mind gradually became dazed. A voice seemed to be quietly ringing in her mind. You listen to the Mingyu Gong heart method taught by Inviting Moon, understand the cultivation methods of the 1st to 9th layers of Mingyu Gong, and have an epiphany, entering the realm of enlightenment. In an instant, Ji Chang'an seemed to have entered a wonderful realm, with countless strange ideas and inspirations colliding in his mind. At this moment, there seemed to be a divine light surging in his clear eyes, and one word after another gradually condensed into his mind. The bright is the sun and the moon, and the jade is the essence of heaven and earth. Only by taking the essence of the sun and the moon from heaven and earth can it be called the bright jade. Ji Chang'an murmured like a dream, then suddenly looked up at Tian Xiong. At this very moment, clouds broke through the sky and the moon rose. A bright moonlight quietly fell, reflecting on Ji Chang'an's body, as if a layer of silver veil had been draped over her. Ji Chang'an felt as if she had been inspired, with a flash of inspiration in her mind, as if she had comprehended something. Naturally, she put on a five-hearted posture and looked up at the bright moon in the sky. This situation naturally alarmed the nearby Invitation Moon, Lianxing. Sister, what's wrong with Chang'an? Looking at Ji Chang'an, who seemed to be half asleep and half awake under the moonlight, Lianxing was a bit anxious, and her eyes were full of worry. The Invitation Moon on the side had a solemn expression and a surprised expression in her eyes. Can you say? After gazing for a long time, the Invitation Moon finally became certain. I didn't read it wrong, and a hint of surprise flashed in my beautiful eyes. I sighed and said, my little Chang'an is indeed a peerless genius. After speaking, she turned her head to look at Lianxing and explained. Don't worry, it seems that Xiao Chang'an has entered a unique state of enlightenment. This is a great opportunity that our martial artists have been struggling to obtain throughout their lives. Don't disturb him. Send the order to seal off the lotus pond, and this palace will personally protect Chang'an. If there are any idle people who dare to approach, they will be killed without mercy. The sound of Inviting the Moon may not be loud, but it carries a cold killing intent and extreme domineering power. Even Lianxing couldn't help but tremble in her heart and quickly nodded, saying, yes, sister, I'm going to pass the order now. After Lianxing left, Inviting Moon also sat beside Ji Chang'an, her beautiful eyes like glass, staring blankly at Ji Chang'an, who was covered in moonlight and her eyes tightly closed. She murmured to herself. Good child, don't be afraid. Master is here to accompany you. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, it has arrived 1 month later. During this month, Inviting Moon was almost steadfastly guarding Ji Chang'an's side, and even Lianxing's request to replace her and let her rest for a moment was rejected. After a whole month of deduction and reflection, Ji Chang'an's understanding of this Mingyu skill finally blossomed and came to fruition, reaching the moment of harvest. Look at the bright moon in the sky, understand the yin and yang of the moon, absorb the essence of the moon, blend it with Mingyu skill, and create Tai Yin Mingyu Skill. Tai Yin Mingyu Skill. Absorb the essence of the moon, refine your body, and you can cultivate the Tai Yin wide cold body to a high level, which can condense the sea rising moon vision, and break all the laws in the world. Chapter 5. Self-created peerless divine skill. Inviting the moon to pity the stars. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's done. Ji Chang'an slowly opened her eyes, a pair of clear eyes as bright as stars, with boundless grandeur, but in just a moment, they once again became as dark and mysterious as the night sky. The Tai Yin Mingyu skill can absorb the moonlight of the Tai Yin, condense one's own body, and cultivate true qi with attributes ranging from yin to cold. Its power is far superior to before. After my improvement, this skill is more than 1 level stronger than the previous Mingyu skill. I'm afraid it has surpassed the mid-level of the heavenly level and reached the level of the heavenly level high level. A hint of joy appeared in Ji Chang'an's eyes. Undoubtedly, it is an incredible insight that can create unparalleled divine skills in just a few minutes, just like opening a cheat. If I can collect martial arts from all over the world, use myself as a furnace, refine the 100 classics, and rely on my rebellious understanding, I may not be able to create a true way of cultivating immortality and thus find immortality. At this moment, Ji Chang'an's eyes lit up slightly, and she secretly made up her mind. In this life, one must comprehend the law of immortality, transcending the cycle of life and death. Of course, we need to eat the food one by one. The path of cultivation naturally requires moving forward step by step. Ji Chang'an looked up at the sky and saw the bright moon hanging high above the sky, its color like water. It was the best opportunity for cultivation, so she moved her heart and murmured to herself. It's time to officially start practicing martial arts. After speaking, he slowly closed his eyes, focused and practiced according to the mind technique of the Taiyinming Mingyu. As Ji Chang'an moved his mind, a constant stream of lunar moonlight quietly merged into his body, and the silver moonlight flowed around him, as if a thin layer of smoke was swirling. At this very moment the inviting moon and compassionate stars gracefully arrived. Looking at Ji Chang'an, who was practicing, Lianxing embroidered her eyebrows and frowned slightly, whispering, "Sister, what Xiao Chang'an cultivates seems to be very different from the Mingyu Gong that we all cultivate." Inviting the moon, her eyes narrowed slightly, and her phoenix eyes shone brightly. After staring for a long time, a hint of surprise quietly appeared in her eyes, and she said with a moved expression, "Oh no! This child seems to be incorporating moonlight into his body." Moonlight. Upon hearing these words, Lianxing's beautiful eyes widened in surprise. "Sister, you're not joking, are you? Moonlight and other ethereal things, how can they be used for cultivation? Besides, we have been practicing Mingyu Gong for many years, but we have never heard of such a thing before." Inviting Moon shook her head, as if sensing something. A hint of disbelief appeared on her stunning face. After a long silence, she whispered, "If I guess correctly, this little guy should have improved Mingyu Gong. It is even very likely that based on Mingyu skill, it has created a more mysterious magic skill that can absorb the essence of the moon." Upon hearing these words, Lianxing's expression turned pale and he exclaimed in disbelief, "What? This? How could this be possible? Little Chang'an is only 6 years old this year. How could he create his own martial arts? What's more, it is the legendary fairy spirit that can absorb the essence of the sun and the moon." Inviting the moon remained silent, but her gaze was gentle as water, looking at Ji Chang'an with pride in her eyes and a moving curve on her lips, murmuring, "My silly little sister, haven't you figured it out yet? Our little Chang'an, where are these ordinary people?" After a few hours, Ji Chang'an opened her eyes, and a divine light flashed in her eyes. Then, she slowly exhaled a wisp of true qi from her mouth. This true qi condensed but did not disperse, slowly drifting above his head, gradually evolving into a bright moon shadow. Although it was only a faint shadow, it also shed a soft radiance. In the early days after tomorrow. In just a few hours, Ji Chang'an crossed the first level of martial arts, successfully condensed the first strand of true qi, and was promoted to the realm of the day after tomorrow. Don't underestimate the realm of the day after tomorrow. In this world of Kyushu, martial arts are divided into acquired, innate, master, great master, land deities, heavenly beings, and finally the shattered void realm. More than half of the martial arts practitioners in the martial arts world may find it difficult to cultivate true qi throughout their lives, and can only serve as non-mainstream miscellaneous fish in the martial arts world. Only by cultivating internal power and achieving postnatal success can one be called a true warrior. But in just a few hours, Ji Chang'an surpassed the efforts of ordinary people for 10 or even 20 years. It can only be said that this is the amazing aspect of his exceptional intelligence. Not bad, as soon as I step into the day after tomorrow, I haven't wasted my efforts for this month. However, that's not enough. Ji Chang'an lifted a faint arc around his mouth, then closed his eyes again, and continued to refine the essence of the moon that he had absorbed for the past month. As his skill increased, the round of bright moon shadow above his head also appeared a bit solid. At this moment, Inviting Moon and Lianxing also floated down in front of the lotus pond. As soon as it landed, I heard a faint cry from the Inviting Moon, and then a surprised expression appeared on my face. Ha! This aura! Can we say that Xiaochang'an has reached the realm of the day after tomorrow? Upon hearing these words, Lianxing quickly looked towards Ji Chang'an. I saw Ji Chang'an sitting cross-legged, with a faint shadow of the bright moon circulating above her head, descending into strands of pure silver, as if shrouded in immortal aura, casting a hazy moonlight over her. As he breathed, strands of clear jade true qi quietly flowed, blending with the endless supply of the lunar moonlight, gradually transforming into the extremely yin to cold true qi of the Tai Yin. As the true energy flowed, a bone-chilling chill also quietly spread, causing the surrounding lotus flowers to be covered with a thick layer of white frost, and even the lotus pond below had already solidified into ice. Seeing this amazing scene, Lianxing couldn't help but look moved and exclaimed in surprise. What a powerful true qi! This power of yin and cold is far superior to the Mingyu true qi that I have cultivated. How did Xiao Chang'an achieve it? Chapter 6 Inviting the Moon. My home is Chang'an, with a fairy-like appearance. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, let alone Lianxing. Even people like Inviting Moon, who have always been calm and indifferent, showed a sense of shock and looked at the scene before them in disbelief. How could a first-time practitioner of martial arts release such a degree of coldness? I'm afraid that no one in the world is more familiar with Minjiagong, a unique skill in the Flower Transfer Palace, than sisters like Moon Invitation and Lianxing. They naturally knew that if they could cultivate the Mingyu skill to the 9th level extreme peak, their skin would become transparent like jade when using the skill, like white ice shrouded in cold mist. The Mingyu true qi cultivated will also generate a force of yin and cold. Inviting the Moon is now at this level, and it is natural to grasp this cold and yin power as one pleases. Even if one wants to freeze the entire lotus pond, it is just a matter of moving one's fingers and not a difficult task. But all of this is based on the Mingyu skill of inviting the moon to cultivate to the 9th level, as well as a martial arts cultivation at the level of a great master. But now, Ji Chang'an, who is practicing martial arts for the first time, can also achieve this level. How can this not shock the two of Inviting Moon and Lianxing? You should know that even Lianxing, the second master of the Flower Moving Palace, may find it difficult to achieve the 8th level of Mingyu Gong. At this moment, looking at the handsome child bathed in moonlight, Lianxing couldn't help but feel a little stunned. Her beautiful eyes were full of a moving expression. After a long silence, she sighed. It's unbelievable. Sister, what kind of genius was the little guy we found back then? It's just my first time in martial arts and I can achieve this level. Although Inviting Moon remained silent, her gaze was filled with pride, and a moving curve was imperceptible on her lips. My disciple is naturally a unique and unparalleled genius in this world. After a long time, dawn breaks on the horizon, and stars appear. The bright moon above the dome began to appear faintly, and the moonlight enveloping Ji Chang'an also became somewhat dim. Ji Chang'an's cultivation is gradually coming to an end. I saw him sitting cross-legged, his eyes tightly closed, and strands of bright jade true energy escaping from his body, quietly merging into the round of bright moon shadow hanging above his head. With the integration of true qi, the remnants of that round of bright moon gradually became solidified, gradually evolving from the size of a jade plate to more than a foot, looking like a white jade plate. Moonlight flows and silver shines, gradually transforming into strands of the power of the Tai Yin, quietly integrating into Ji Chang'an's body, strengthening and condensing his physical body. In this scene, under the moonlight, Ji Chang'an is as vast and lofty as a fairy descending from the world. Even if it's an invitation to the moon, Lianxing and other knowledgeable and experienced Jianghu celebrities can't help but show a moving expression in their eyes, praising. My home is Chang'an, with a fairy-like appearance. After about a stick of incense, Ji Chang'an suddenly looked up to the sky and let out a long howl. The sound of the clear howl was like the sound of a dragon singing, shaking the four fields and rolling back and forth between heaven and earth. Then, Ji Chang'an slowly opened her eyes, and there seemed to be a surge of moonlight in them. After a whole month of enlightenment and a whole night of cultivation, he has now crossed the triple heaven and earth, breaking through to the innate realm in one fell swoop. This kind of cultivation speed can only be described with the word terror. Once the incident of tonight spreads to the martial arts world, there is no doubt that it will inevitably stir up a wave of turbulence, and may even cause a sensation in the entire martial arts world. A 6-year-old innate expert. Throughout the history of the martial arts world, it is probably unprecedented. Ji Chang'an slowly stood up, stretched lazily, and slightly moved her body, which had become somewhat stiff due to prolonged sitting. With his movements, a crisp sound like stir-fried beans quietly rang out. Ji Chang'an felt comfortable all over, as if there was an inexhaustible power in her body. With a gentle wave of his robe sleeve, a true qi transformed into a silver moon wheel and roared towards the lotus pond. With a flash of silver light, more than 10 lotus flowers were quietly chopped down. Not bad. Ji Chang'an smiled contentedly, then turned around and looked at the invitation moon and Lianxing standing side by side. A brilliant smile appeared on their still somewhat immature and handsome faces, and they whispered. Thank you, Master. Second Master is protecting me. The disciple has reached the innate realm. What Ji Chang'an didn't expect was that upon hearing his words, Lianxing was displeased and instead angry, with a pretty face and a quick step forward. First, I carefully examined Ji Chang'an's body and found that she was safe and sound before finally feeling relieved. Then, Lianxing let out a soft snort and his gaze suddenly changed. Changing his previous gentle tone, he directly reached out and grabbed Ji Chang'an's ear. A hint of anger appeared in his beautiful eyes, and he gave a rather angry lesson. Stinky kid, how dare you change the cultivation method of your martial arts without permission when you're just a little older? This time, you were lucky enough to have completed the repair by chance. But if there is really something wrong that causes irreparable consequences, what should you and your master do? Chapter 7. Lianxing. Little Chang'an, second master is here for you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this moment, there was anger, pity, blame, and a tender and caring expression in Lianxing's gaze. Unlike the usually strict, aloof, father-like invitation month. For Ji Chang'an, the gentle and kind character of Lianxing is more like a loving mother or elder sister in his heart. During the 6 years in the Palace of Moving Flowers, Lianxing gave Ji Chang'an meticulous care, treating him like a parent-child, which can be said to be extremely well taken care of. At this moment, it seemed that the second master, who had always been gentle like water and never easily angered, was really angry. Ji Chang'an also had a headache and quickly explained. It's Chang'an's fault, which worries second master. However, regarding the matter of improving the martial arts, please rest assured that the disciple has absolute confidence and will never make any mistakes. Look, haven't I succeeded? Not only did I elevate the level of Mingyu Gong, but I also took a step forward and directly achieved the innate realm. As she spoke, Ji Chang'an quietly gave a glance to Invite the Moon. It seems to be implying Master Fu to speak up quickly and coax second master for him. However, the invitation moon seemed to have not seen it, with no intention of interceding for Ji Chang'an. Instead, she gazed at Ji Chang'an with her beautiful starry eyes and spoke with great interest. Tell me, stinky kid, how did you do it? As the Grand Master of the Flower Moving Palace. Inviting the Moon is naturally very clear about the inheritance and various secrets of the Ihua Palace. Throughout history, the masters of the Flower Moving Palace can be considered as brilliant and stunning individuals. And their common aspiration is to improve the town's unique skill of Mingyu Gong and make it even further. But after hundreds of years of gathering the wisdom of past palace masters, it ultimately failed. But now, a 6-year-old doll has successfully improved Mingyu Gong, taking it to the next level, and even elevating it to more than one level. If it weren't for witnessing these miracles with one's own eyes, I'm afraid Inviting Moon wouldn't believe them no matter what. After hearing the question about inviting the moon, Ji Chang'an blinked and looked innocent like a real 6-year-old child, smiling and saying, "Master Hui, I have your and Master Air's past teachings, as well as the 10,000-volume collection of books in the palace as a reference, plus the disciple's not too stupid brain. It's just improving a martial arts book, it's not really a difficult task." Although Ji Chang'an's voice was not loud, it contained an extreme sense of confidence. It seems that improving a heavenly level technique, such a huge challenge, is as simple as eating and drinking water to him. This strong confidence couldn't help but suppress both Inviting Moon and Lianxing. The two women were stunned and looked at each other, their hearts shocked beyond words. After a long time, Inviting Moon let out a light sigh and raised her hand to gently stroke Ji Chang'an's head. She said with some confusion, crying and laughing, "Foolish child, if your head can only be evaluated by not stupid, then there may be no more intelligent people in the world. Even if it's my palace, it's far inferior to you." As she spoke, Inviting Moon gently leaned down and looked straight at Ji Chang'an, saying with utmost seriousness, "Xiao Chang'an, remember, you are a unique existence in this world. Those so-called hidden dragons in the martial arts world listed on the list, the unparalleled heavenly pride in the eyes of the world, are just a group of pitiful insects in front of you. You are the true fairy-like figure, and in the future, you are very likely to ascend to heaven and even have the opportunity to challenge the realm that is said to be untouched, shatter the void, and soar in the daytime." Upon hearing these words, Ji Chang'an's eyes also flashed with a hint of hope. She clenched her small fist and said loudly, "Master, second master, rest assured that my disciple will definitely become the number one in the world in the future, and let everyone know the power of my flower-moving palace." Listening to the lofty words and aspirations of the little person in front of me, Inviting Moon couldn't help but smile. The already stunning beauty, with a smile on her face, becomes even more stunning and captivating, capable of overturning all sentient beings. Even Ji Chang'an, who was still young, or Lianxing, who was also a woman, couldn't help but feel a bit intoxicated when they saw this stunning smile. Relying on being still a child, Ji Chang'an spoke bluntly and said, "Master, you look really good when you smile. You should smile a little more on weekdays." "Humph, you little one, how old are you? Do you know what it means to be good looking?" Inviting the Moon let out a soft snort, without hesitation, but a subtle curve appeared on her lips. It is well known that the Grand Palace Master of the Moving Flower Palace, Inviting the Moon, is naturally indifferent and domineering, and has always been as cold as ice. On weekdays, he treats anyone with coldness, harshness, and coldness. But only the people in the Palace of Moving Flowers know that the Grand Palace Master, who has always been cold as ice, actually has a soft side. And this tenderness will only be revealed when facing Ji Chang'an. In the past 6 years, Inviting Moon has also greatly favored Ji Chang'an, no less than Lianxing. Just because of my personality, I don't want to express it in my mouth, I prefer to express my feelings through actions. I would hear Ji Chang'an's praise. Although Inviting the Moon may seem disdainful on the surface, it is actually quite useful in my heart, and I have secretly made up my mind. In the future, in front of Xiao Chang'an, we should still smile more. At this moment, Lianxing seemed to have noticed something. Qiong's nose furrowed slightly, and she looked at Ji Chang'an with a hint of indulgence in her eyes. She smiled and said, "Oh, you've been practicing martial arts for a long time and haven't bathed before. Today, you've been practicing internal skills all night and sweat a lot. You're almost turning into a mud monkey. Come over quickly, Master Air will take you to wash it." Upon hearing these words, Ji Chang'an's face was slightly embarrassed and she muttered. Master Heir, I'm already 6 years old, don't you need to help me take a shower? I'm already a big child. Lianxing pouted and let out a soft snort, expressing dissatisfaction. Just a 6-year-old baby, can you distinguish between men and women? Humph, I think you just despise second master. As she spoke, Lianxing became addicted to acting, covering her eyes and crying. Woo, my little Chang'an has grown up and I don't want to be with second master anymore. I've been washing incense for you since I was young, and now I actually despise you. Upon seeing this, Ji Chang'an couldn't help but feel a headache and had to turn to the nearby Invitation Moon for help. Master. Inviting the moon, a slight imperceptible curve appeared on her lips, but her tone remained extremely plain. Alright, Lianxing, Chang'an has always been a precocious child, and now he is a 6-year-old. You should also be careful and not treat him like a child anymore. Lianxing has always been afraid of inviting the moon. When she spoke to her sister, although she was still somewhat reluctant, she could only nod slightly and pout, saying, Yes, sister. After speaking, she glared at Ji Chang'an again and muttered. What's up, stinky kid? He's not cute at all. He was so obedient when he was a child. Chapter 8. Soak in hot springs with Inviting Moon and Lianxing. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Embroidered Jade Valley. Warm bathing pool. Clouds and mist envelop, and water vapor rises. Lianxing invites 2 stunning beauties to bathe in the warm pool water. A naive and tender flower with a color like spring dawn. A cold and noble, like a solitary moon in the sky. At this moment, both sisters are wearing gauzes and bathing in the spring water. Against the backdrop of the misty water vapor, the two of them looked like divine consorts and fairies in the fairy palace in Yaoqi, appearing ethereal, and also stunning, truly stunning in the world. Unfortunately, such a stunning sight was not appreciated by anyone. Not far away, separated by a bouquet of flowers. Ji Chang'an was alone, soaking in warm spring water, quietly pondering the gains and losses of today's cultivation. Today is the beginning of my cultivation of martial arts. Not only did I create the Tai Yin Mingyu Skill, but I also broke through the realm to the innate level, which can be said to be a fruitful achievement. But along the way of practicing martial arts, it's like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you'll have to guard against arrogance and impatience. It's better to take a period of time to solidify the foundation and refine the realm, and then practice the fist and foot moves after the realm is stable. Just as Ji Chang'an was secretly calculating her cultivation plan for this period in her heart, she heard a lazy and moving call quietly sound. Xiao Chang'an, go and fetch some grape wine for me. Don't forget, you need to use your yin and cold internal strength to chill it before you can taste it. Upon hearing these words, Ji Chang'an couldn't help feeling a bit helpless. But he was also aware of the temperament of these two masters. If he didn't follow suit, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. So he obediently got up and put on his clothes, and went to serve the two masters. Master, second master, please don't do this. Although my body is only 6 years old, my psychological age is not much younger than the two of you. Of course, these words can only be thought about in my heart. Ji Chang'an was slandering while obediently following the instructions of the two masters, taking grape wine and some exquisite wine dishes to the next warm soup pool. There is no need to say too much about the various stunning scenes among them. However, Chang'an is still young and has a lustful heart but no capital. She can only bear this kind of quite beautiful torture with pain and happiness. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, it arrives after March. Embroidered Jade Valley. In the lotus pond. A child in white sat cross-legged. 3 feet above its head, a bright moon shone like a silver plate, casting strands of silver light. The handsome young man bathed in the moonlight, with an indescribable calmness and detachment. During these 3 months, Ji Chang'an was not in a hurry to continue improving her martial arts skills or learning other martial arts moves. Instead, she focused on consolidating her existing realm and repeatedly refining the Taiyin true qi she had cultivated. He is well aware that internal skills are the foundation of martial arts and are absolutely of utmost importance. Sometimes, elevating one's realm too quickly may not necessarily be a good thing. Strengthening the foundation is the most important thing. After a quarter of an hour, Ji Chang'an slowly opened her eyes and silently felt the true energy within the dantian, revealing a satisfied smile. Not bad. Compared to 3 months ago, the true qi in my body is at least several times more powerful. Try how powerful it is. Ji Chang'an stood up and raised his hand to gently grab the pool water beside him. In an instant, the airflow surged, and a ball of clear water quietly floated up, converging towards his palm. In the next moment, the cold air surged and the water instantly condensed into ice. In Ji Chang'an's palm, it seemed as if it had turned into a lifelike ice lotus. Go! With Ji Chang'an's clear drink, the ice crystal lotus shattered with a loud bang, as if it had turned into a rain of flowers, roaring towards the front. Whoosh whoosh! A large lotus leaf was instantly torn apart by ice crystal fragments, turning into countless ice shards and breaking apart. Along with the pool water affected, it was condensed into a thin layer of ice by the cold air. It can be imagined how terrifying this chill must be. Not bad. This power of extreme yin and extreme cold is indeed quite extraordinary. Looking at the frozen pool water, Ji Chang'an smiled with satisfaction. At this moment, a familiar voice quietly sounded behind him. Stinky kid, these lotus flowers were originally blooming well, do you insist on ruining them? Ji Chang'an's body stiffened and she turned around quite helplessly. As expected, the person behind him was the second master Lianxing. Second master, why did you come? If I come a little later, I'm afraid you'll have to waste all the lotus flowers in this pond. Lianxing's anger is strange. Ji Chang'an was speechless and could only smile bitterly, saying, Sorry, second master. I was just interested, please forgive me. I will take some time to replant these lotus flowers. Upon hearing these words, Lianxing's beautiful eyes showed a hint of love and pity, and she spoke softly. It's just a small matter, just instruct the palace servants to do it. Why bother you to do it yourself? After speaking, Lianxing's gaze swept over the broken petals that had turned into ice, as if she had thought of something. Suddenly, she smiled and looked at Ji Chang'an, pursing her lips and saying, Xiao Chang'an, looking at you like this, it seems that you always attack flowers and plants because you can't find any opponents to fight against, right? Cluck, why don't I accompany you through 2 moves and try your skills? What do you think? Chapter 9. Black and White Lang Jun's Unique Skills, Collecting and Transforming Fortune. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fight against Second Master. After hearing Lianxing's words, Ji Chang'an was momentarily stunned, and then her eyes lit up slightly, as if she had also developed some interest in Lianxing's idea. Since his time traveling, he has never witnessed a true master's move. Why not take this opportunity today to personally experience it? Ji Chang'an pondered for a moment, then turned her gaze to Lianxing, spread out her hands, and helplessly said, Second master, I also want to challenge you, but I haven't learned a single move or a half yet. I just have a body full of internal power, I'm afraid. This is easy to handle. I'll teach you now. Lianxing smiled brightly, her eyebrows and eyes painted like a painting, her tone gentle, and she said softly. I have countless unique skills in the palace of moving flowers, among which the most brilliant method is nothing more than moving flowers to receive jade. Today, Master Air will teach you this set of unique skills. Upon hearing these words, Ji Chang'an's eyes couldn't help but brighten. He naturally had heard of the famous transfer of flowers and jade. This martial arts can be regarded as the most advanced magical palm technique in the Flower Palace. After reaching a high level of cultivation, you can freely pull, move, and rebound enemy martial arts. Transferring flowers to jade, hence the name. Throughout history, the masters of the flower-moving palace have relied on two unique skills, namely the flower-moving and jade receiving technique, as well as the Mingyu technique, to almost dominate the martial arts world, with a rare defeat. They have earned the reputation of being invincible to gods and ghosts. Ji Chang'an was also quite curious about this magical palm technique, so he simply said, "Please teach me, second master." Lianxing nodded slightly and said in a soft voice, "Xiao Chang'an, come and attack me with a move." Ji Chang'an knew her intentions and did not hesitate, so she directly took action. The true energy of Tai Yin condensed into a silver moon wheel in its palm, and then roared out towards Lianxing. Shua! Lianxing pursed her lips and smiled softly, saying, "Xiao Chang'an, please take a closer look." As she spoke, she saw Lianxing's jade hand lightly waving, her long sleeves dancing gracefully, like a wandering dragon. A strange pulling force quietly emanated from her sleeves, like flowing water, gently brushing away the moonlight. Ji Chang'an saw this and looked slightly stunned, secretly praising in her heart. This transfer of flowers and jade is truly magical. At this moment, Lianxing's voice also rang out again. "What are you doing in a daze? Keep going." "Yes." Ji Chang'an smiled helplessly, then both palms came out together, and the true energy in her palms flowed. The crescent moon blades were like fast winds, carrying piercing cold currents and roaring towards Lianxing. Lianxing saw the situation, and a hint of surprise flashed in her beautiful eyes. This child is just newly born, his true energy is so powerful. But after a moment of surprise, Lianxing also regained calmness. She was already accustomed to the wonders of this precious disciple. In the next moment, Lianxing's waist twisted lightly, and her snow-white long sleeves gently brushed out again. The unpredictable palm power twists and turns, moving like a dragon, as if possessing spirituality, effortlessly knocking off the silver and white moon wheels, and even allowing them to return to their original path. Straight and smooth, change as you please. The exquisite control of its power is enough to make people dizzy and stunned. Even Ji Chang'an couldn't help but show a hint of emotion in her eyes. In his eyes, the power of this skill of moving flowers and receiving jade should not be inferior to the ever-changing stars of the Gu Su Murong family, or the great changes of the Ming sect's universe. But in reality, perhaps his judgment is not appropriate. This skill of transferring flowers and jade has its unique features. Undoubtedly a top-notch skill in the palace of moving flowers, the control of strength is truly amazing. Its intricacies are probably not inferior to those two ultimate skills at all. At this moment, Lianxing, who had practiced moving flowers and jade, also returned to Ji Chang'an's side and gently bent down, saying in a soft voice, "Xiao Chang'an, how many times have you remembered my move just now?" Ji Chang'an scratched her head and said, "About 90%, right." 90%. Lianxing's gaze trembled, and then she let out a bitter smile, helplessly saying, "You are such a demon." Later, Lianxing directly taught Ji Chang'an the heart technique mnemonic of moving flowers and receiving jade. After mastering the moves and mental techniques, Ji Chang'an slowly closed her eyes and let her mind go, as if she had once again entered the magical realm of enlightenment. In his mind, a stunning figure of a beautiful woman was lightly fluttering her sleeves and dancing gracefully. One move in one fell swoop, resulting in a remarkable move to transfer flowers and jade. Transferring flowers to receive jade is ultimately a clever means of leveraging power, and its essence is no different from Wudong's 4 tails of weight and Shaolin's 18 drops in clothes. Ji Chang'an's eyes seemed to be closed, whispering like a dream. If you want to improve it and take it further, then you need to delve deeper into the method of using force. When it comes to the method of using force to fight, looking at many aspects of martial arts, perhaps that black and white gentleman's ultimate skill can also be called the most brilliant existence, right? As Ji Chang'an remembered this, a mysterious man with a towering figure, a face divided between yin and yang, black and white hair, and a wicked and arrogant aura suddenly came to mind. Ha ha ha. Immediately after, there seemed to be an extremely demonic burst of laughter echoing along with it. The ghost shadows shuttle through the night, with white skeletons resembling horses. Lang calls the name of Nangong with hatred, and you raise your angry eyebrows to kill the world. In the midst of wild laughter, I saw the demonic figure wielding its palm like a dragon, transforming into thousands of forms. The black, white, yin, and yang energies were flowing and generating, as if light and shadow were intertwined, like a dream. Receive, transform, transport, and send. One gas transforms into 900, 3,000 in one gas. In a daze, Ji Chang'an seemed to have some realization in his heart, and a sudden light flashed in his mind. You observe the movements of Lianxing and understand the technique of luck and energy. Combining the mystery of the changes in yin and yang in the Taoist scripture, using the black and white prince as the prototype, you successfully create the technique of collecting and transforming luck and energy, transforming one qi into 900 and one qi into 3,000. Chapter 10 Ji Chang'an. Please teach me, Second Master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Harvesting and transportation, one gas transforms into 900, one gas transforms into 3,000. If we talk about these martial arts, they are really not original works by Ji Chang'an. But it originated from the unique skill of Nangong Hen, a powerful figure in the golden light puppet show that Ji Chang'an loved in his past life. This famous black and white gentleman is not an ordinary person, but a peerless warrior known as the world's #1 madman. He is renowned throughout the world for his exceptional martial arts cultivation, spanning 9 realms. His personality is even more arrogant and unrestrained. He loves to challenge world masters the most in his life and takes failure as his joy. He is known as the first martial artist in the Central Plains. And the signature skill of this unparalleled powerhouse is the one gasification in 900 with collection, transformation, transportation, and development as the core that Ji Chang'an has comprehended. The essence of it is to absorb enemy killing moves, and then combine 1,000 forces to return them several times. It can be regarded as an upgraded version of the transfer jade. After comprehending the technique of transferring flowers and receiving jade, Ji Chang'an instinctively associated it with the 900 qi transformations. With her own incredible insight, she created this unparalleled skill. Not bad, this gate, with a rank of 3,000 to 900, must have at least the level of the heavenly rank middle rank, at least one rank higher than the moving flower jade. Ji Chang'an is quite satisfied with the results of this time's enlightenment in martial arts. Not only because he has learned a powerful martial arts, but also because he has verified his previous conjecture. That is to use the various martial arts he has learned in his past life, as well as the various unique skills in fantasy works as templates, and then use his incredible intelligence to transform the martial arts he has learned in reality, thus creating powerful martial arts that do not belong to this world. Just like this time using the black and white Lang Jun as a template and improving the transfer of flowers and jade to create one gasification of 900 different things. Ji Chang'an's thinking gradually diverged. If that's really the case. So, based on more powerful martial arts, can we create powerful immortal methods in our memory that can ascend to the heavens, descend to the earth, and live forever with our extraordinary understanding? Thinking of this, Rao couldn't help but feel a hint of heat in his eyes, as Ji Chang'an had always been calm. Calm down, don't worry. Along the path of martial arts, do not be eager to achieve success. Ji Chang'an took a deep breath and temporarily suppressed her emotions. My current martial arts foundation is still weak, and I need to adopt the strengths of major sects, collect various unique skills and divine arts, gradually enrich my martial arts reserves, and then consider cultivating immortality methods no later. Behind Ji Chang'an's childish body lies an adult's heart. For emotional control, it is easy to grasp. In an instant, he had calmed down and turned to look at Lianxing, whispering. Second master, you have passed on my flower moving and jade receiving skill. My disciple has already obtained the samadhi of it. Today, Chang'an dares to ask for your advice. Would you be willing to teach me? Upon hearing these words, Lianxing's beautiful eyes fixed on Ji Chang'an, her embroidered eyebrows furrowed slightly, and she exclaimed in surprise. But in half an hour, you learned how to transfer flowers and jade. After speaking, Lianxing seemed to have thought of the magic in Ji Chang'an's body, so she didn't say much anymore. She just let out a sigh in her heart that this child is truly a genius of demons. Come on, let second master see how much you have learned. Before he could finish speaking, he saw Lianxing's jade hand waving, and a genuine qi roaring towards Ji Chang'an like a training horse. Well done. Let's try my 1 qi 3000. Ji Chang'an calmly crossed his back in front of him. In the next moment, the true energy of Tai Yin will be transformed into two forces of Yin and Yang. The black and white light and shadow roared out like a torrent, enveloping him like a long river. In an instant, the energy from Lianxing's attack was exhausted and turned into nothingness. Upon seeing this astonishing scene, Lianxing couldn't help but show a moved expression and exclaimed in surprise. Xiao Chang'an, you. What you just used was to transfer flowers and receive jade. Ji Chang'an smiled slightly, didn't say much, just calmly said. Second master, why don't you attack a few more moves? Humph, stinky kid. Upon hearing this, Lianxing let out a soft snort. That's as you wish. In the midst of a strange and angry voice, Lianxing's jade hand was lightly raised, and a pair of flowing clouds seemed to be stirred by wind and clouds in her long sleeves. The surging true energy spewed out from her palm. You truly deserve to be the renowned flower-moving palace master in the martial arts world. Although Lianxing looks like a celestial being, slender and delicate, her pair of jade hands, like sheep fat and jade, contain a powerful force like thunder and earth fire. This kind of attack is truly magnificent and fierce. It is hard to imagine that such an attack would originate from the hands of a charming woman. However, when Ji Chang'an saw the other party make a bold move, she was fearless and eager to try. I truly deserve to be the second master, and indeed I have done it. Ji Chang'an let out a clear roar, then both palms came out together, not daring to neglect. He directly used the unique skill he had just mastered to forcefully take on Lianxing's powerful attack with black and white qi. Receive, transform, transport, and send. Amidst the low cheers, Ji Chang'an's face was solemn, and her whole body crackled with continuous explosions, as if every orifice was exploding, desperately squeezing the power inside her body and pushing the attack of Lianxing into her body. Come and don't be impolite, second master, you also take a punch from me. At the next moment, Ji Chang'an transformed her palm into a fist, using her own strength as a guide to mobilize the powerful force of Lianxing, who had just been incorporated into her body, and fiercely punched her forward. Boom! In an instant, the airflow surged, and the powerful fist force poured out like a torrent.